Well, my hair is doing a thing today, so we're gonna go on that journey together. First, there will be a lot of La La Land spoilers in this video. If you have not seen it, watch it before you watch this. Second, my cat has decided that right now is the time that would be best to play with all of the toys on the floor. So if you hear little rustlings, it's just the cat. I think the majority of people went into the Oscars kind of assuming La La Land was going to sweep everything. And I kind of thought it was going to as well. And that did not make me happy. I'm so nervous to say anything negative. I feel like if you say anything negative about La La Land, it's like you are shunned. But it's taken me about a month to process La La Land, and it's been an emotional journey, and I still am so conflicted, and I can't really decide how much I actually love it. I loved it, I think. But that I loved it, I think, is not I loved it. So I just want to process this with you as well, because it won some awards and I was like, okay, I can get by that. Emma Stone won Best Actress and I was like, I can't get behind that. And then it won Best Picture and I was like, oh, it did not deserve to win Best Picture. And then it didn't win Best Picture, and that was just a whole other level of wow. I think what it boils down to for me is that I really loved La La Land as a film, but it was so disappointing to me as a musical. So I want to chat that out with you guys. For one, I feel like it was advertised as like this generation Singing in the Rain. And let me just tell you, like, Singing in the Rain is every generation Singing in the Rain. There is nothing that's gonna be as good as Singing in the Rain. And I should have known that going in, but for some reason I was going into La La Land thinking like, this is gonna be as good as Singing in the Rain. It is gonna be so, it's gonna be on par, they're gonna make all these references, and they made some references that were successful, and others that it was just like, okay. I should probably also say that Singing in the Rain is like a very deep personal connection to me. I saw it for the first time when I was 5 and I had to stay home sick from school, and my mom was like, this is a movie that always is uplifting and makes me happy, and we watched it together and it made me feel better. And every year that I was ever sick home from school, ever since, that was the movie that I would watch, and it was just like mother-daughter bonding time, and it was like my introduction to all things musicals, and it was the best. And I also may have played Kathy Selden in All I Do Is Dream of You in my high school's dance showcase senior year. Props to me. But yeah, so I am like obsessed with Singing in the Rain and all things Singing in the Rain. And when you compare things to Singing in the Rain, like those expectations are up here, and La La Land came in like right around here, and maybe it was unfair of me to think that it was gonna be that good, but it just wasn't up here. But La La Land also wasn't really up here with almost any musical that I can think of. Like the night before the Oscars, Chicago was on TV, and I was watching it, and it was like hit song after hit song after hit song after hit song, and I stayed up way too late because I was like, well, I can't go to bed before Cellblock's Tango comes on, clearly. And there's nothing about La La Land that's like, I gotta wait for that song to come, because there just aren't enough songs. When I saw La La Land, I literally left the theater, and on my way to the car, I was actively trying to remember what songs there were. And I was like, okay, City of Stars, and there was the City of Stars reprise. Oh, and there was that one in the beginning about sun. That's not how you should feel leaving a musical. You should be on your way to your car, like dancing and jamming to whatever your favorite song was. And I didn't really have a favorite song. It was just like, I was just trying to remember, were there even songs in that musical? There's also the factor that when I see a musical, I want to have vocal aspirations after I see it. I want to hear a song and be inspired to achieve the level of greatness that is that song. Like, I have been listening to Hamilton in my car for months on end now, and I keep listening to Burn because I really want to get the breath control right to be able to sing Burn as good as Philippa Sue, and I'm not there yet. And that's the thing, is that I want to be able to strive to get there. And the fact that I already can sing like all the La La Land songs better than Emma Stone, and basically anybody can sing all the La La Lands better than Emma Stone, like, And that's not even to say that I disliked the music, because I didn't dislike the music. The score is gorgeous. All the instrumental things in La La Land were stunning, but instrumental scores doesn't make it a musical, and even the musical songs, like, they weren't bad. I think just the execution of them was just not what I needed them to be. And let's just slide through the soundtrack real quick. Another Day of Sun should have been the most fabulous opening number known to man ever in life. And visually amazing. Choreography amazing. The way it was shot, beautiful. Can't even process. But when I saw it in the theater, I like leaned over and whispered to my mom. I was like, can you understand anything they're saying? She was like, no, I can't hear them at all. And I thought like, okay, I was seeing it in a local theater that's a little bit more of a small town theater. And I thought, okay, maybe there's a sound issue in the theater. And then I went home and I listened to the soundtrack. I was like, no, there was no sound issue in the theater. The vocals were actually that quiet. Like all I could hear was like, oh, it's about sun. I heard sun. Okay. Got it. Personal preference, if you're gonna do a big booming musical, get Broadway level vocals. Like that's not really even that hard to achieve. And I've heard the argument that, okay, if you're gonna cast Ryan Gosling and Emma Stone, who are not that level of vocalists, like then everybody else should not overpower them. And I get it in theory, although the vulnerability of Emma Stone and Ryan Gosling would have shown out like that much more had everybody been like the best singers ever. And then Emma Stone comes out like this, and then it's like, okay, like she's sweet and quirky, like we get it. But even if we're accepting and rolling with the idea that the vocalists are just not gonna be classically trained singers, and we're fine with that, even if, why were they so quiet? Like that's a sound editing issue. Like the music was up here and the vocals were down here, and I just wanted them to be like this. Why weren't they like this? And then we move on to Someone in the Crowd, which I feel the exact same way about. I feel like that was a big, booming, fantastical number that should have been everything. And the vocals just weren't up to par with it. And then there's the fact that you've got Another Day of Sun, Someone in the Crowd, and then nothing for a really long time. And like there was not another giant dance number in the whole thing. And it's like, well, okay, but where was the next big booming fantastical number? I wanted more of them. Followed by Me and Sebastian's theme, which is a beautiful orchestral interlude. I'm all about it. And then there was A Lovely Night, which was supposed to be like the tap number. It was the one they showed in all of the ads. It was like that Singing in the Rain, like overlooking the Hollywood everything. And visually it was beautiful. The yellow dress was beautiful. The lights and the colors were beautiful. But I forgot about it. I forgot about it. Like when I was going through in my head, like, okay, what were the songs of this musical? Completely forgot about it. And maybe that's because the actual singing lasted about 30 seconds and then they just tapped the rest of the time, which I wouldn't necessarily be opposed to, but like if you think about other tap scenes, like Singing in the Rain, where you got Moses Supposes, right? And you've got a short little musical intro, and then you've got the best tap you've ever seen. So the fact that the music, which the music in Moses Supposes is also amazing, the fact that it was shorter doesn't matter because the tap was so good. And their tap was like, fine. It was fine, but Debbie Reynolds couldn't really dance before Singing in the Rain, and Gene Kelly demanded that she practice and practice and practice and practice until her feet bled until she was the best. And they didn't practice until their feet bled. I can tell you that right now. And again, I've heard the argument that's like, well, she's supposed to be an actress and he's supposed to be a musician, so they're not supposed to be perfect at everything, and it just makes them more vulnerable and more real that they can't really do it perfectly. And I get the argument, but it's still a musical and I still wanted more. Then they go on a date and they go to the jazz club. You got Herman's Heaven, that was great jazz, totally fine. You got City of Stars, which was, you know, supposed to be the Singing in the Rain of this musical, where he's strolling through and he hangs on the street lamp, and it's fine, and the song itself is very singable and it's very lovely, but Ryan Gosling just really is not that great of a singer, and so it's And then you've got the planetarium dance, which again, visually, one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen on screen. It was glorious to behold, but you've got a big ballet montage sequence later, so don't really know if you needed another one. Might have thrown in another big booming number for me. Might have been helpful. You've got the summer montage, which was super sweet, and then you've got the City of Stars that they played on the piano, the little reprise, which was cute and all, except that they can't sing. And then you've got the John Legend song, which was super fun, moves the plot forward, I'm into it, I like John Legend a lot. I don't think it really means it's a musical number because it was during a concert, and you can have concert scenes in any movie. So to me, that didn't like add to the musical appeal of the movie. But it was fun. I enjoyed it, although I thought it was called Start a Fight, and I still hear Start a Fight when I listen to it. Like, I do not hear fire. Pretty sure it's Start a Fight. Got a ton of instrumental score, and then we get into the Fools Who Dream audition, which probably my favorite part, maybe my second favorite part of the whole movie. It was a great scene. But I even struggle with that as the musical aspect of it, because it was the only song that Emma Stone, like, nailed it on. And I think that might be like a characterization thing, like, okay, she's growing confidence as an actress, she's also gaining confidence in her voice. Okay, I'm on board with it, but the fact that it's just like, you're the star of this musical and there's only one song that you like hit it on, probably not a great ringing endorsement. But then I can't be too critical because I love the lyrics and I love the message of the song and I love the way she acted through the song. It was really, really good. But then I went home, and I'm gonna ruin this for all of you. It has like the same melody as the 100 Acre Woods song from Winnie the Pooh. It does, I swear to you. And then they ended with the What If Dream Ballet, which was the best part of the entire thing and was a complete throwback to Singing in the Rain and An American in Paris and Oklahoma and like every other classic musical that had a painted background dream ballet sequence, and I was dying and in love with it. And I love that they didn't end up together because they each had to find their own trajectory to follow their dreams, and sometimes your love in your heart and your love for your dream doesn't coincide, and that message is great, and the ending was my favorite part. So that is why I'm so conflicted. And I think it's fair to say that I loved it as a film. I liked the story, even though it's kind of a basic Hollywood trope of like struggling actress finds her dream in Hollywood. Like, that's been done about 35,000 times. But I like the way it was done. You show her audition scenes and how she's really giving it her all in those auditions and she's still rejected. And Seb is, you know, he thought he was living his dream and then he got swindled and then he was rejected, and then they find each other and they both have idealistic ways of thinking but both have a lot to learn, and they learn and grow through each other, and it's all romantic and I love it. And then they end up, you know, he sells out with his music and then she gives up on her dream completely, and then they both realize, okay, we need to get back to where we started. And they meet together again and he encourages her to audition and he gives up his sellout music business, and you know, then they realize, okay, but we can't do this together. Like, we each have different dreams and we love each other and we will still always love each other, but our dreams are different paths that we have to go on, and we have grown together but we also need to grow apart in order to achieve our dreams. And I love it a lot, and I love it. It's great. And there are plenty of criticisms to be made about their characters too. The whole Seb being the white savior of jazz, yeah, pretty problematic. Also, Seb is basically the worst date ever. Like, the fact that she's like, yeah, I hate jazz, and he's like, let me take you to a jazz club on every date so you can know how wrong you are about jazz. Like, there's no girl that would not have dumped him in a minute. But even then, I saw La La Land with my mom and she talked to me afterwards, and when I was just like, well, he was kind of like a crappy date, and she's just like, okay, but like, he's your dad. I was like, what do you mean he's my dad? And you know, my dad was a lover of jazz music. Our basement is filled with Miles Davis posters and jazz records, and he has always had that love of jazz, but my mom didn't. And so she's just like, well, that was like what our first dates were like, only my dad was not as like passionate as Seb was, but like, he taught her an appreciation of jazz. It was like, oh, Seb and me are my mom and dad, and ah! And I think I've already said this, but like, as a film, it was a stunning film. The way it was directed, the way it was put together, the visuals of the film were stunning. And I had a lot going on the week that I saw it, and I think I posted on Facebook that like, it was so nice to just like escape into a colorful musical. Like, it was really just overwhelmingly beautiful in that way. And so I did like it. I did like it as a film. But tying this back into the Oscars, La La Land had like a record-setting number of Oscar nods, and I went into the Oscar night being like, I don't really want them to win all that much. There were certain things I thought it deserved. The cinematography awards that it got, awesome. The best director, I think it deserved best director because the way the film was directed was genius. So I didn't have an issue with that. And best song, I kind of thought Fools Who Dream was a little bit better than City of Stars, and I'm really partial to How Far I'll Go from Moana. So I mean, a little bit of a wishy-washy thing there, but we kind of all knew that City of Stars was it was gonna win. But I have major issues with Emma Stone winning Best Actress. Like, I am sorry. It was not, no. And trust me, I'm not saying this in like an elitist effort to be like better than everybody and like I know all there is to know about acting. Like, that's not where I'm coming from here. It's just that Emma Stone was literally playing herself. Like, real life Emma Stone dropped out of high school to move to Hollywood and fulfill her dreams. Mia's character dropped out of school to move to Hollywood and fulfill her dreams. Like, Emma Stone was playing Emma Stone. And while I'm sure as an actress that was great to be able to like really connect deeply and emotionally to the experiences of your character, that doesn't take a lot of skill to achieve. It just doesn't. And I know Meryl Streep is overrated and all, but like all it took was 10 minutes into Florence Foster Jenkins to be like, yeah, Meryl's acting was like light years apart from Emma Stone's. And I mean, all you need to see is the trailer of Jackie to know that Natalie Portman achieved something of brilliance in that movie. So yeah, Emma, at the very least, is a consolation prize to me. During her acceptance speech, she was like, I have a lot to learn. And I was like, yes, you do. And then it won Best Picture, and I was just like, I don't really think it deserved to win Best Picture, but I understand why it won Best Picture because the Academy is like doing a little homage to Hollywood, and I get it. And then it didn't win Best Picture. And once I got over like the shock and horror of it not winning Best Picture, wow, that was something. But you know, then I was like, okay, like I can be all right with it not winning Best Picture, although I really feel terrible for like everybody like bringing on stage and oh my gosh, thank you so much for everything. Oh, never mind. So I don't know if I'm leaving this video any less confused than I was when I started. I think I just need to acknowledge that like I loved it as a film, but it has some points to critique. It's got some problems. Namely, it wasn't a good musical was the biggest problem. But you know, if you liked La La Land, please just like talk it out with me. Like, leave comments explaining why you think it's the best ever, because I wanted it to be the best ever for me. It really did, and I think I need to see it again. Maybe it'll grow on me a little more seeing it a second time. And it wasn't that I didn't like it. I really did like it. I just, super mega congrats to Moonlight, and yeah, leave all your La La Land comments below, and I gotta go think this over.